The search Shein or Temu haul procures thousands of results on websites like Instagram, TikTok, and YouTube. It has become typical to see people drop thousands of dollars on cheap, low-quality clothes that will disintegrate within few washes and not feel particularly bad about it because they're buying them at egregiously low prices. Seriously, with $5 shirts and $10 pants, it's hard to take care of your clothes properly when you know they are disposable and worth very little. And when buying $800 worth of $5 clothing, you aren't really looking for quality. You're just looking for some trendy clothes. But that's just Shein and Temu, online stores that are known for low prices and consequently low quality. What about other stores? What about when going to the mall to shop for clothes you want to buy so that you can wear them for a long time? I often look at photos of myself as a child, dressed up by my mom and smiling widely at the camera. Whenever I look at pictures from my childhood, I always have a recurring thought. Clothes were much higher quality back then. I remember how they felt on my skin, how difficult they were to tear, how much less stretchy clothes were, and how they generally felt much better. And I'm middle class. I have been my whole life. My family did not splurge more on clothes back then. Our annual spending on clothes has more or less stayed the same. But it's not just me. If you have clicked on this video, chances are you have felt this way too. You have felt how clothes have been seemingly dwindling in quality, how manufacturers do not make clothes to last anymore, and how they feel worse to touch. If you've clicked on this video, you might also think that it's not just clothing. Everything seems to downgrade in quality. Everything falls apart quicker, nothing is repairable anymore, you have to throw it away and buy a new one. It seems to be a rising sentiment. They don't make stuff like they used to. If the topics of this video seem to interest you, you should subscribe because I make video essays about similar subjects and more. I am trying to reach 1,000 subscribers by the end of the year, so it would mean a lot. To discuss the consequences of everything becoming substandard, I must discuss how that came to be. And to do that, I will separate the causes into two big causes: producer and consumer. But first, let us talk briefly about the origins. According to History.com, the Great Depression was the worst economic crisis in modern history, lasting from 1929 until the beginning of World War II in 1939. The causes of the Great Depression included slowing consumer demand, mounting consumer debt, decreased industrial productions, and the rapid and reckless expansion of the US stock market. The Great Depression left people impoverished, and that's me putting it lightly. The unemployment rate skyrocketed, and with it, the crime rate and the suicide rate. People could not purchase like before, consumer demand slowed, and people got used to surviving on very little, if at all. It is safe to say that people were not spending $800 on a box of baby tees and jeans. They couldn't. Consumerism was at an all-time low. And then World War II happened, and with Franklin D. Roosevelt's decision to support Britain and France against Germany, defense manufacturing rose sharply, which created more jobs in the private sector. And then Japan bombed Pearl Harbor, and America's factories launched back into full production mode. And all this expansion meant that getting a job was more uncomplicated. The unemployment rate actually dropped below that of the unemployment rate before the Great Depression. Thus, the Great Depression ended and the country's economy flourished. In post-World War II America, getting a job is incredibly easy, wages are higher than before. Americans finally have the money they did not have for so long. Due to this, Americans are eager to spend on clothes, cars, houses, everything. Post-World War II set a precedent for Americans to get familiar with spending. Not just the upper-class Americans, but Americans of all statuses. Middle-class and lower-class Americans also got the opportunity to splurge. Not only that, but spending was actually considered a good, patriotic thing to do because consumers were credited with helping the economy.
Just buy it. You don't have to rationalize everything.
All right, I will buy it. It'll be good for the economy.
In such an economy, production and consumption are at an all-time high. Demand and supply are both skyrocketing. Now let's break down each. Since the Industrial Revolution, companies have been able to mass produce most things, providing them with the ability to make everything at a higher quantity and at a lower cost. However, not everything can be done with a machine. Humans have to exist somewhere along the production line in order to put everything together. Brands and manufacturers know this, and while it is cheaper to mass manufacture elements and have workers put them together, it's also cheaper to not spend much on labor. Fast forward to now, and fast fashion giants keep manufacturing plants in countries where labor laws are much laxer so that they can get away with paying workers unlivable wages and keeping them in unsafe conditions.
We are made to work continuously, often through the night, sleeping at 3 a.m., then waking up by 5 for another full day of work. Our bosses don't care, they're only bothered about production.
They ask us to work so late, I can't even feed my children at night. They shouldn't treat us like slaves. They should give us respect.
It's cheaper to manufacture clothes in countries like Bangladesh and China and have them shipped to the United States than to spend on American labor. It is normal for workers in such conditions to be paid less than $2 per day for their labor. It is normal for them to work 75 hours per week, and it is normal for them to work in overcrowded, unhygienic environments. It is hard for me to articulate just how jarring the conditions workers must bear are. Child labor is very typical, and so is physical and sexual abuse. Workers have to live through these exploitative conditions or they are left with no job at all. Most are uneducated and/or born into poverty. Companies take advantage of this and pay workers as little as possible. Shein is worth $100 billion, meaning that it is worth more than H&M and Zara combined. With this revenue, Shein is more than able to pay workers a living wage. But the term corporate greed comes to mind. And since we are skimping on labor, why not skimp on quality too? Back to the title of this video. The quality of everything is getting worse. And it is. It is cheaper for manufacturers to create clothes from synthetic materials than of pure cotton. That is why most of your clothes have some level of polyester in them, and they feel itchy. That is why they fall apart after one wash, and that is why they tear so easily. As we have figured out by now, fast fashion manufacturers nowadays value quantity over quality. And when making as many clothes as possible in the shortest amount of time, craftsmanship takes a hit. Hardware becomes plastic instead of metal. Back stitches become running stitches and buttons don't get sewn on properly. These tiny details do not cost a lot, but they make a tangible difference in the quality of clothing. Sometimes I'll go to a store and see threads sticking out of more clothes than not. It makes me think that if manufacturers put at least a little more effort and investment into the clothes they make, this wouldn't be ordinary at all. But they don't, because making low-quality clothes keeps customers buying more. That is how brands manufacture demand. And while I mostly discuss clothes in this video, this doesn't just apply to clothes, it goes for everything. That includes technology, household appliances, furniture, everything. Everything is made more cheaply now. But it's fine because you get what you paid for, right? If you spend more on clothes and goods, you don't have to bear the inadequate quality, right? Well, not exactly. Quite recently, it was revealed that Dior's $2,800 handbags are manufactured by a Chinese sweatshop subcontractor. The bags actually cost $57 to make. Let me repeat that. A $2,800 handbag costs $57 to make. That is nearly a 50th of the retail price. This is especially sinister because when someone is purchasing a luxury handbag that costs nearly $3,000, they are expecting infallible quality. To find that it is made in the same conditions as Shein can be quite a slap to the face. And if that doesn't show you just how greedy the fashion industry is, I don't know what will. Consumers are spending more on clothes than ever before. On average, Americans buy 53 new clothing items per year, which is 4 times more than in the year 2000. To me personally, that's a jaw-dropping number. 53? That's way too much. But the increased demand consumers have for new items is a direct result of the increased supply coming from fast fashion giants. Although this has been true for a while, it has become insane since Shein shot onto the market. Keeping up with trends is something that only the wealthy elite could do, but now, thanks to fast fashion, anyone can do it. Shein can recreate trends and produce clothes at a speed previously unknown to mankind. Shein does that by using algorithms that analyze trends, putting up the trending product, and testing the market to gauge whether or not the product has potential. With this technology, Shein updates its site with approximately 6,000 to 10,000 styles per day. No matter how you put it, that's an insane number, a number my brain cannot comprehend. It's clear that Shein no longer exists in the realm of fast fashion, but maybe a new thing called ultra fast fashion or uber fast fashion, because even fast fashion brands like Zara and H&M can't produce clothes at this speed. And with this insane supply, Shein creates demand that might not have existed prior. Because when a potential customer is scrolling through social media, it's easy to find out about a new microtrend taking over TikTok for a week or two. After watching a few more videos from influencers telling them they need it, they can easily go to Shein and find the trending item of clothing already being sold for a low price. The fast fashion industry thrives on people buying as many clothes as possible without stopping to think twice about whether they actually need them or not. That's how it works in tandem with microtrends. Microtrends are dished out every 3 months or so, and that's me being generous. When you see a microtrend left, right, and center on social media with the poster saying you have to buy it, you think less about whether or not you actually need it before buying it, or if it's actually going to cause you joy. Purchasing clothes becomes a much less mindful activity, and cherishing them becomes even less common. And I've seen this take everywhere, but fast fashion and social media are best friends. An influencer's job is to make as much content as possible. Their job is to review new products. Their job is to analyze new trends and post about them as often as possible. They quite literally get paid to pay. That is how the algorithm rewards them with pushing their videos out to the public. But it also means that when influencers are promoting a new makeup product or a new fashion item, people get influenced. It's in the name. Because if I watch somebody make a video about a trending top, then scroll to see another video talking about the exact same thing, then go on Shein to see if it already exists with a low price tag, I am easily influenced to buy it. Whether I like it or not, I can figure out later. Because if I don't like the top, I can throw it away or donate it to a thrift store.
This is how much Shein clothing I saw today while thrifting at just one Goodwill location.
Or I can keep it in my closet until I throw it away. After all, most people don't wear 50% of the clothes they own. But this isn't a very sustainable model. Americans throw out 17 million tons of clothing and textiles each year, and 65% of clothes are thrown out within 12 months of its purchase. And that's just American consumers. When discussing throwing away untouched clothes, the blame mostly falls on the manufacturers once again. Fast fashion companies produce millions more tons of clothing than they can actually sell. When new shipments arrive, the unsold old clothing is taken off of the shelves and thrown in the trash. Brand new clothing that has never even been worn. Each season, fast fashion retailers overproduce clothes by 30 to 40%, clothing that they know won't be sold, and that overstocked clothing ends up in the landfill. Globally, 92 million tons of clothing are sent to landfills each year, and fast fashion's practice of throwing out unsold, unworn overstock is fueling this waste. Fast fashion is so bad for the environment. Besides all the perfectly fine clothing disposed of in landfills every day, producing clothes requires so much water and oil, and it creates insane greenhouse gases. It's also bad for the economy and small businesses. The current trend cycle we are experiencing negatively impacts small businesses because it is so much more difficult for them to keep up with the microtrends. Also, fast fashion giants are notorious thieves. Big brands have been caught ripping off or copying designs from small businesses and small artists time and time again. This means that small designers are stuck while a big brand profits from their designs because fast fashion copyright laws are ridiculously murky, and artists don't have a shot against the brand's legal team. This thievery is only amplified by dupe culture or TikTok's obsession with finding copies of products they consider too expensive. I think the reason this generation specifically is very keen on spending is that we are currently undergoing a recession, and we are living in what economists call a lipstick economy. According to Investopedia, the lipstick effect is when consumers still spend money on small indulgences during recessions, economic downturns, or when they personally have little cash. They do not have enough to spend on big-ticket luxury items. This means that millennials and Gen Z can allow themselves small, expensive purchases, like trending clothes, because there is no chance to buy things like cars or houses in this economy. Millennials and Gen Z are moving back in with their parents because they literally cannot afford to live on their own, so spending on clothes might be the only spending they get to do. Which makes sense to me, in my opinion. I mean, the economy is so bleak right now, we can barely imagine buying a car, let alone buying a house. So it makes sense that millennials and Gen Z, or generally the younger generation, try to get their joy of spending through buying clothes or makeup. And while I do feel like we are living in a hyper-consumerist society today, I do believe this issue is mostly the fault of big brands who continue to produce an unnecessary amount of goods and use social media to convince us we need them. Honestly, I don't blame the average consumer, and it's important to stress that a lot of the people shopping in fast fashion are not the ones buying clothes to wear a few times and then throw away later. Many people shopping at H&M or Shein are buying clothes and wearing them multiple times and are taking care of them even when they go out of trend. And many people do not have any option but to shop fast fashion because it is the only thing they can afford, or because different stores do not carry their sizes. And honestly, I feel like it's really difficult to have fun nowadays without spending money. Let's break it down. Let's say it's too hot to go outside due to climate change, so you stay inside, and thus you spend more money online shopping in order to have some fun. Or let's say you go outside. Due to it being so hot, you end up going to a mall and you end up inevitably spending money, because there's literally nowhere a human being can sit nowadays without having to spend money. I just think that it's odd when someone spends a huge chunk of money on buying many clothes from Shein or Temu, knowing that they will wear them once and then throw them away, especially when with that money you can very easily buy sustainable, ethically made, high quality products that can last you a lifetime. And it's important to keep in mind that a lot of these influencers doing $800 Shein hauls are getting these products sent to them by Shein for free. That's why you shouldn't really try to copy the influencers you see on Instagram and TikTok. Many of them aren't even paying for the clothes, and yet you're being influenced to spend like them, even though they aren't even actually spending. You're just wasting your money. All I'm saying is, you don't have to subscribe to every micro trend there is. In fact, you'll probably regret it if you do. Most of them are fugly. Everything declining in quality is not a coincidence, and you're not crazy for noticing it. In fact, lowering the quality of goods and services is actually a necessary feature for a late-stage capitalist world to function. Producers and corporations have to purposefully make things lower quality so that you, as a customer, keep buying more, while they get the added benefit of not spending as much on labor and raw materials, even though they are reaping much more in profit than they once were. The only thing that we, as customers, can do is to buy less, to take care of the things we do have, to stop buying every microtrend we see on social media. We can take care of what we own by washing it properly and, if possible, by shopping more sustainably. It is difficult being a shopper in a late-stage capitalist world, but it's not impossible. If you've made it to the end of this video, thank you so much. You have no idea how grateful I am that you stuck around. I really apologize for how terrible my voice sounded in this video. I am really sick and I've been really busy recently, and that's why I didn't upload as fast as I originally wanted to. I actually intended to have a video up weeks before, but as I was in the middle of writing the script, I realized I didn't really agree with what I was writing, so I had to scrap that and start on a whole new video, which is this one. Yeah, if you've made it to the end of this video, thank you so much, and please subscribe and leave a like and leave a comment with your thoughts. I love reading your comments and I love responding to them. It's honestly one of my favorite hobbies, and you guys are motivating me to make more YouTube videos when you do. I really hope you enjoyed this video from the bottom of my heart. Thank you so much. I love you and have a great rest of your day.